Hi guys, so this is just another video because I finished another book. Yay! I read Will Grayson, Will Grayson. I actually finished 2-3 days ago, but I've been waiting for some time so that I could actually make a video. This is the first time I've made a video in like such a rush that my hair is so wet and I'm wearing my glasses. But whatever. So I read it straight through. I didn't want to put the book down. I started like reading when I was in the gym before I went. I used to go read in the change rooms. I used to read during my break because of this book. In contrast to Looking for Alaska, the book is a lot more amusing, sort of lighthearted. It doesn't feel as deep. In the beginning, especially because they start with, well, I think you can tell from the title, there are two different Will Graysons in the book. And basically the first one, who starts off, tends to have a pretty, normal, average life. The other one is sort of going through depression and is on medication. They're two different, completely different perspectives of life. They're about the same age, same name, same city, and yet they have completely different lives. So when I started off, the first one, the first Will Grayson, who I will refer to now as Grayson, because that's what Tiny, a character whom both the Will Graysons know, refers to him as. And the other one I'll refer to as Will, just to avoid confusion. So Grayson, the beginning, his part's very lighthearted. It's very funny. I often find myself laughing, so it's a great relief, especially when you read something like that. You really want to read it. I found it really entertaining, and so I kept flipping the chapters. And then I hit to the part that is Will's. And the difference is the way it's written, I guess, is very powerful as well. It's written almost as if I'm reading someone's blog or diary. It doesn't have proper capitals. The periods are just randomly spaced. The dialogue is just like me, colon, whatever they wrote. It's not the proper quotation marks, and it's not written in book style. It feels like you're reading something much more private, and it almost feels like you're invading into his head. It makes it very vulnerable, and it helps send across a message. It sets a mood, especially because you have two different characters. It does a very good job of setting the mood, and so when you're flipping through, you can tell which part's exactly Will's. And it's sort of like, when someone talks, when you hear them talk, you can tell the difference between the two people. In writing, they sort of did the same thing, but they did it in the style of writing, which was really, really cool, really unique. I sort of liked it. At first, it was annoying and frustrating because I didn't like reading it like that. I do like reading the other part, the one that was more traditional style. I like having my dialogue in quotation marks, not randomly written. It felt a lot like an MSN conversation, and I don't like reading books that are like MSN conversations. I have a little bit of a pet peeve against that. I liked the reference to Schrodinger. I liked the characters, the type of character especially. I liked Jane, one of the girls in the book. I thought she was very well developed, and anyways, and then I also liked Tiny. I felt like Tiny's character reminded me so much of my friends, and that's why I really like this book. It reminded me a lot, especially by the end, of friendship. In a different way. It made me think about friendship, and not like when I normally read books, they're normally written in like these high drama type scenarios, especially if they're talking about friendship. But no, it felt very real, and it sort of felt like a story about friendship and relationships, but not really. It focused on romantic relationships, but it sort of seemed separate from it. And I remember I was so emotionally driven by this book and how I related to it that I think I cried at one point. This is so embarrassing. This shouldn't even count. I'm a very sentimental person. I cry for a lot of things, but I cried almost at one point, and it was so embarrassing. But I really felt for the characters. I really like Tiny's character, and he's a very big guy, but he's a very big softy, and he really just likes to make everyone happy. And it reminds me of a few of my friends who act like that, and it made me feel very, touched. Sometimes a little bit dense to what other people are feeling, but he reads people so well. It's like, even though he's dense for what they're feeling, he knows you so well, he takes the time. So I really like Tiny's character. Will's character, the other one who had the mood-setting writing, I didn't like his character in the beginning. But at one point in the book, which is quite early on, both the Will Graysons meet, and that's what basically triggered the rest of the plot. The trigger incident, yeah. So if we were going to do the plot line, I think that would be the trigger incident. I do not know if it is, because I always sucked at that part of English. But I would say that would be the trigger incident. Ever since then, I liked reading Will's part because his character changes, it develops, and it makes it really round because he sort of starts expressing more emotions. He becomes more motivated to life. He changes his outlooks, and by the end, he really understands friendship and what it means and why he was like sort of pushing everyone away and his own emotions, which was really good. So Grayson, that character I could relate to the most. Grayson's character from the beginning, I liked him. He's very amusing to read. He's very relatable. I knew where he was coming from when he said, in the very beginning, he talks about rules that he lives his life by. And both the Will Graysons sort of are similar in this way, that they both are not as social. They both are very dramatic in their own. They don't like getting involved. They both are not very involved in clubs. They both sort of spend time by themselves. because he sort of feels like the only reason you ever feel embarrassed or hurt or you feel that emotion that you want to push away, negative emotion, is when you put yourself out there to get hurt. But what he learns by the end is, if especially after he meets the other Will Grayson, is that unless you put your heart on your sleeve, you're not going to really get to enjoy life or see things, sort of like his friend Tiny does. And it's after that he sort of realizes this, that all the dialogue that made the first part so amusing, that he used to write in his head, he started expressing it. But the honesty really helped him. It turned his life around. So after he met the other Will Grayson, I loved his character so much, incredibly. Like, after I read this book, I actually messaged all my friends and I said, I really appreciate you. So basically, overall, I thought the book was great. I enjoyed it. I thought it was awesome. I had one little issue. The musical was a little cheesy. I liked the idea of the musical. I thought it was a very good way to express Tiny. I thought it was a little cheesy though. Maybe because when you see the song lyrics, it seems cheesy without music. That's one little downside of books. You don't have sound or taste or smell, which sort of sucks. But so the musical seemed a little weird without sound. But otherwise, I completely enjoyed this book and I would totally give it a read.